Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, the drama surrounding Congressman Duncan Hunter and criminal accusations continues. After pleading not guilty to charges of campaign finance violations, his wife is set to change her mind and take a deal. We have details ahead. Plus, U.S. troops at the southern border. KPBS takes a trip to Texas to see how President Trump's military action is affecting illegal immigration. And sharing an office space for a creative cause. A local company is taking the new trend of co-working to another level. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Wednesday, June 12th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Priya Sridhar. Our top story tonight, Congressman Duncan Hunter's wife, Margaret Hunter, is backing away from her not guilty plea in a federal corruption case that's received national attention. Last year, the couple was indicted on campaign finance violations. They were charged with misusing $250,000 in campaign donations for personal expenses. Both pleaded not guilty. However, today it appears she'll be changing her plea. The announcement was posted this morning on the U.S. District Court docket. Margaret's scheduled to appear in federal court tomorrow morning. KPBS received a statement from the attorney for Duncan Hunter. It reads in part, quote, "We're aware of Mrs. Hunter scheduling a hearing to change her plea. At this time, that does not change anything regarding Congressman Hunter." Thomas Jefferson School of Law is fighting to keep its American Bar Association accreditation. An ABA accreditation represents a national standard in legal education. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the law school has faced several challenges over the years.
Thomas Jefferson School of Law was placed on probation by the American Bar Association in November of 2017.
Specifically, they were focused on questions about our finances, our program of legal education, and our admission standards.
Recently, the ABA voted to revoke the law school's accreditation, a move the school plans to appeal.
We had put in significant information showing all of the concrete steps that we have done to improve the law school, so I was extremely disappointed to get this decision.
The law school acknowledges it has had financial troubles, but has been working to overcome them.
For example, with regard to our finances, we showed them that we'd recently cleared $43 million in debt. We had relocated from a very expensive building to a much more affordable building.
Data from the state shows Thomas Jefferson had 25% of first-time bar takers pass the exam in July of 2018. Comparatively, the California average for ABA schools then was 63%.
Our bar pass numbers, particularly for first-time takers, are definitely lower than we would like them to be. Our most recent February bar numbers are actually showing some improvement, but we definitely want to do better.
Thomas Jefferson School of Law says the appeal process will take at least 6 months, and during that time it will remain accredited with the ABA. The law school says it's still accepting admissions, and for current students there isn't an impact right now. As a precautionary measure, last year the school received an accreditation from the State Bar of California. That means if the law school's ABA accreditation is lost, students can still take the bar exam in California, but not other states. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thomas Jefferson School of Law says it has about 250 students in its JD program. It's one of 3 ABA accredited schools here in San Diego. A new program pays homeless people in San Diego to pick up trash. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler says it's gearing up for a big expansion.
Last year, the nonprofit organization Alpha Project launched Wheels of Change, which pays homeless people minimum wage to spend a few hours cleaning up city streets. Now, the program is set to expand after it raised over $500,000 from both the city and private donors. Wheels of Change has added a second van to its fleet and is now sending out 20 homeless people every weekday to clean up neighborhoods. Wheels of Change is aiming to give jobs to more than 5,000 people this year as it expands its services to more days of the week. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
We haven't heard a great deal about the troops on the border. They've mostly stayed behind the scenes, but recently KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh got a chance to visit El Paso and see what the Army leaders who are running the operations from Texas to California are doing there. Steve, that's quite an opportunity.
Well, thanks, Priya.
So remind us again what the troops are actually doing along the U.S.-Mexico border.
So they've been along the U.S.-Mexico border since about October, just before the last election. And they've been there pretty much ever since, though they've kept, as you said, a pretty low profile. Right now they have about 4,000 troops there, including National Guard, which means the number has been going down steadily. There's actually been little interaction with them since the beginning of the year. We haven't really talked to anybody with the Marines here in California since before Christmas. So when we had a chance to go to El Paso, we decided to take them up on it.
So what exactly did you see while you were down there?
So the biggest, most high-profile mission all along the border has been the laying of this concertina wire, this razor wire, but that mission wrapped up more than a month ago. So now the biggest thing that they're doing, about 1,200 troops are involved with, they're in a mobile surveillance trucks. They're monitoring cameras from California all the way through Texas. But they have kept their distance. They're very concerned about having interaction with migrants. When I talked to one of the camera operators, they said sometimes they're so far away from the border that they can't really tell whether they're monitoring a person or a cow. So, and there have been a few problems. They say a couple of times a week they will encounter migrants, usually somebody who's looking for water or to turn themselves into Border Patrol. Then they quickly call Border Patrol and they take them away.
So how are they measuring the success of what they're doing down there?
So I talked with Brigadier General Walter Dusney, who's the Deputy Commander of Army North, which is in charge of this whole operation. He says in the 9 months since they've been there that they've aided in the apprehension of 13,000 migrants and 3,000 pounds of marijuana, which is a sizable number. But when you look at the Border Patrol's figure, they came out with numbers saying that since the beginning of the year, they've had 593,000 apprehensions, and they seize more than 5,000 pounds of narcotics every month. So it's a small part of a much larger problem. Now, the military says that they're helping. What they're doing is they're freeing up agents so the Border Patrol agents can move forward and interact more directly with migrants. But again, it's a small part of a larger problem.
And this must be quite a unique situation for the city of El Paso and the people who live there. How are they reacting to all these troops being there?
Right. So keep in mind, El Paso is a military town just like San Diego. They have Fort Bliss there, so they're well aware of the military. And right now, there's a lot of fear and a lot of consternation about border policy, just like there is in San Diego. But really, that has not been reflected on the military's role in that. Now, this could change. We're probably going to see more troops coming to the border in the next month or so. They've already signed on, the Pentagon has signed on to building 6 more detention centers along the border. They're also going to start transporting migrants to the various facilities, and they're also going to be involved in feeding them. They're also doing things like painting border barriers in Calexico, which some members of Congress had said that's really not the role of the active duty military. So we're going to see more coming up the next couple months.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting situation to keep monitoring. I've been speaking with KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh. Steve, thanks so much for your insight.
Thanks, Priya.
Co-working, it's a relatively new concept that's becoming more popular around the world, including here in San Diego. Recently, I got an opportunity to explore a shared office space in City Heights. Take a look.
Just threw a bunch of flowers, edible flowers.
Nick Rock and Stacy Keck met each other out of necessity. They were looking to find people to share an office to save money. Keck has been a freelance photographer in San Diego for 10 years.
I've been working out of my apartment for as long as I've been full-time photo. So that can be extremely isolating. It can be very, liberating as well, but you get to a point where you kind of plateau and you reach this place where you wish that you had other people around.
Rock says the two women soon discovered they wanted much more than just a physical space to work from.
There was this natural pivot towards becoming more of a community space and becoming more of an outreach to small businesses that need a place to connect and engage and interact with other businesses and to share ideas. And that's what we wanted to kind of be a part of, to create something where people didn't feel alone.
That was the beginning of You Belong Here, a collaborative work and event space in City Heights. Rock noticed an empty storefront on El Cajon between the 805 and the 15 and made her move.
I loved the way it looked. I loved the facade. I just felt like it was a beautiful space, and it was so sad that it was empty for so long. It was just supposed to be an office space, nothing more than that. And what it became is so much more than what I even imagined.
Rock and Keck rented out the space a year ago. Since then, they've gutted it, renovated it, and transformed it. In addition to offering traditional co-working space, the two also rent out and donate the space to area nonprofits for art shows and events. Keck says it's helped her expand her professional network.
Once we opened the doors and we were having art shows and workshops, and we've done film screenings here and collaborated with local nonprofits to have fundraisers. Once people started showing up for those types of things, I really realized that I could do more fulfilling work.
According to the 2018 Global Co-working Survey, 1.7 million people are working in 19,000 co-working spaces around the world. That's up more than 40% from the year before. The trend is believed to have started in 2005 in San Francisco for freelancers who wanted the community and structure of having an office space. Crosby Norix is a business coach and runs a public relations website. She's one of the first 3 members of You Belong Here who uses the space to co-work.
I love being able to bring my, branding, marketing, public relations, media knowledge to the table. And I also love to learn about, different opportunities that I might not be thinking of because I'm, so focused in my niche. So being able to leverage their relationships, their ideas, just to see my own blind spots.
You Belong Here offers different memberships ranging from $20 to use the space for a day up to $200 for an all-access monthly pass. The space offers a kitchen with coffee and snacks, Wi-Fi, a podcast room, and a closed-door office. Nick Rock says, in addition to being able to get out of the house, You Belong Here has given her a place to brainstorm with other entrepreneurs about ways to grow her business.
We had to do a lot to learn about establishing an LLC, getting lawyers, having contracts put together. So these are things that we weren't really doing outside on our own. So by coming together, we had to learn all of these business steps, which is something that we really want to focus on for anyone who comes into the space. We want to provide them with those resources and the consulting and the help.
You Belong Here is hoping their membership grows and they can continue to provide a place and a platform for small businesses and entrepreneurs in San Diego to thrive. Well, the heat continues around the county, but will that continue for the rest of the week? Meteorologist Dajia Swad has our forecast.
Heat has been the main topic here across Southern California. That continues even into this evening. Currently looking at an excessive heat warning in and around Borrego Springs, really to the east into New Mexico. And that excessive heat warning once again is when we have multiple days, 2 days or more of uncomfortable conditions, humidity and heat combined, making that temperature feel like 105 or more. And we saw some temperatures that were in the triple digits, setting new records or even tying. Thermal 116 on Tuesday, setting a new record. Borrego 115, and out to Palm Springs 114, which was tied with the previous record. So a lot of heat of what we have been dealing with. Now we're starting to see that upper level ridge, that high pressure starting to weaken, and that's going to allow for temperatures to be a bit more normal. On your satellite and radar, not a lot of precipitation, so if you were hoping for some of that, not really seeing it tonight. We will notice clouds filling in for San Diego, dropping down into the lower 60s. Lower 60 at Oceanside. Clouds are going to continue to move inland into the extended forecast, and that's going to help temperatures cool down as well. We'll be looking at a low of 75 in Borrego Springs, 58 for your overnight low in Mount Laguna. And then as we head into your Thursday, cooler at the coast, but still packing some heat in areas, especially as you head into the desert zones such as Vegas and Phoenix. We'll still be keeping an eye out for some very extreme heat. In San Diego tomorrow, high of 71, 73 in Oceanside. Morning, low clouds going to be likely and the chance for some fog, especially at the coast. And then topping off at 104 in Borrego Springs, 75 in Mount Laguna. So coast, you're feeling that cooler air first, but eventually by late week we'll start to moderate a tad bit. However, there's still going to be warm air for much of the western half of the U.S. At the coast, highs in the lower 70s for your extended forecast. A low cloud Saturday. As we head inland areas, we'll be looking at clouds tomorrow and Friday, and then that sun comes back out Saturday with a high of 77, upper 70s Sunday and Monday, and we'll be keeping the warmth out to the deserts with lots of sunshine. As for the mountains, lower 70s for your extended forecast with plenty of sun. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
The 2020 presidential election is heating up. President Donald Trump and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden are already going head-to-head, both determined not to go down without a fight.
To clearly and fully reject, for our own safety's sake, his view of the presidency. Quote, "I have complete power." No, you don't, Donald Trump.
In the past, and under the Obama administration, our politicians let other countries push us around, treat us badly, treat our country with no respect. And you see that with Biden. We would never be treated with respect because people don't respect him. Even
President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden taking jabs at each other on the campaign trail. Both presidential candidates stumped in Iowa on Tuesday. President Trump in Council Bluffs, Biden in Davenport. The two did not hold back from tossing insults in the battleground state.
Well, you know, he's setting a standard of crude language and embarrassing behavior that is burrowing deep into our culture, for real, into our culture. And it's going to take some time to get rid of it, but we must. We must. It's not who we are.
he was someplace in Iowa today, and he said my name so many times that people couldn't stand it anymore. No, don't keep saying it. Sleepy guy.
Biden focused on the future, calling another 4 years of President Trump a fundamental threat to America.
The fact is, I've said it many times, that we can overcome 4 years of this presidency. It'll go down in history as an aberration. No, I really mean it. I think we can overcome it. A lot of damage has been done. It's going to take a lot of hard work. But ladies and gentlemen, if he's in the White House for 8 years, he's going to forever change and fundamentally alter the character of this nation. I really mean it. This is beyond the issues. I believe that Trump poses a fundamental threat to America.
President Trump looked to the past, comparing Biden to his 2016 rival, Hillary Clinton.
He makes his stance in Iowa once every 2 weeks, and then he mentions my name 74 times in one speech. I don't know. That reminds me of Crooked Hillary. She did the same thing.
Both candidates are proving to be their party's frontrunners so far in the campaign. And it's clear the nation's current political climate will be at the forefront of the verbal attacks against the sitting president.
Our democracy is at risk. I never thought I'd use those words in my lifetime. But it's true. Everywhere you turn, Trump is tearing down the guardrails of democracy, tearing down the things that prevent the abuse of power. Whether it's a man raising his hand to strike a woman or a child, or an employer threatening workers and treating them like dirt, or an American president who has no respect for the rule of law, I can't stand it, and most Americans can't stand the abuse of power.
A new national poll by Quinnipiac University shows Joe Biden beating President Trump by landslide proportions.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the U.S. House of Representatives votes to hold the Trump administration in contempt over documents related to the 2020 census. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Hemp is becoming more and more popular in the nation and in San Diego. We just celebrated Hemp History Week. Now the city looks to the future. KPBS reporter John Carroll sat down with Stuart Tomp from CV Sciences to discuss the local hemp industry.
We're joined by Stuart Tomp from CV Sciences. Stuart, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Talk to me about Hemp History Week, why it's important and what the goals are.
Okay, the beginning of June every year for the last 10 years, we celebrated Hemp History Week. The goal of Hemp History Week was to help educate America about the potential benefit of hemp. Now that's in the past. Everyone is interested. We're changing the name to Hemp Week for next year.
Talking about CV Sciences, that's a company obviously you work for. They've been working with agricultural hemp for a long time. What do you see currently as the biggest points of confusion regarding hemp?
I think the biggest point of confusion is the simple nomenclature, the understanding of what it is we're talking about. For the first time ever, we have a plant that we can buy in a health food store that has potential health benefits. It's also available in dispensaries in certain states that have that scheme, and pharmacies. So that actually makes it a little bit more confusing than anything we've dealt with in the past. Today, right now, people are confused about food fiber hemp and what we call low THC marijuana. And so what we do at CV Sciences, we're involved in the farming side. We helped to pass the Farm Bill, which passed December 20th of last year, liberating hemp, which is no longer a controlled substance. So our company is producing products from those hemp plants.
And taking off of that, about the bill that was just recently passed, how will authorities and regulators be able to tell the difference between agricultural hemp and drug varieties of cannabis being bred to meet the current definition of hemp as stated in the Farm Bill?
Okay, so that's really the biggest point. First of all, there are genetic differences between true hemp seeds and cannabis plants that fit the Farm Bill definition. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture will be involved, and they will approve certain seeds. The thing the consumer can do, only purchase products that have QR codes, quick scan codes there, that take you to a certificate of analysis so that you know that it's a farm hemp product and not a cannabis product.
I've read about this for years, where hemp is just a phenomenally versatile plant, right? And a lot of people thought it was crazy that it was ever illegal because, I mean, you can make great rope out of it and you can make all sorts of other things. Talk to me about sort of the change in mindset that's getting us to now where we can use the hemp plant without freaking out that we're going to get high.
Well, part of the change in mindset has basically been the evolution from the era of reefer madness to where the science is truly bringing us today. When we can demonstrate that in the true food fiber hemp plant, the gene that produces THC is rate limited, and true food fiber hemp plants get you healthy, they can't get you high. So as people understand that, decaf versus regular, different product, different market, different customer. So it takes education, it takes time, but let's face it, this has been years and years of misunderstanding. So that's why at CV Sciences, we encourage you to first talk to your doctor and to be very cautious about what it is we're saying when we talk about these products.
This is also an industry that's really taking off, not just you guys, but some of your competitors as well, I imagine. What do you see in the near future and then down the road as far as where the industry, non-THC, where it's going?
Well, thank you for mentioning the hemp plant and being very specific about hemp being different than cannabis. Because right now, everyone's talking about these extracts. Because they're so popular, there's such a huge demand. Over time, as we grow more hemp, we'll have more biomass. So we'll actually have the material to replace plastic. So all the car doors that we're talking about, the petroleum byproducts that we can replace, we need big, bushy, outdoor-grown hemp farming, which is different than indoor agriculture with greenhouses and botanists. Do you see the difference there? So I think that as people understand that there are three different swim lanes, the pharmacy, the dispensary, and the farm, and we can replace plastic, sequester CO2, and produce these kind of natural products, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We just have to do it responsibly.
Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You can learn more about our local production of hemp on kpbs.org. And now for a recap of tonight's top stories. Congressman Duncan Hunter's wife, Margaret Hunter, is set to change her not guilty plea in federal court. Last year, the couple was indicted on campaign finance violations. Both pleaded not guilty to misusing more than $250,000 in campaign donations. It was announced today she's scheduled for a change of plea hearing tomorrow morning. The American Bar Association votes to revoke Thomas Jefferson School of Law's accreditation. The university was placed on probation by the ABA in November of 2017. Data from the state shows Thomas Jefferson had 25% of first-time bar takers pass the exam in July of 2018. The California average for ABA schools then was 63%. The school plans to appeal the decision. A new program pays homeless people in San Diego to pick up trash, and it's gearing up for a big expansion. Wheels of Change pays minimum wage to homeless people to spend a few hours cleaning up city streets. Now the program is set to expand after it raised over $500,000 from both the city and private donors. It's added a second van to its fleet and is now sending out 20 homeless people every weekday to clean up neighborhoods. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a great evening.